Pastor's Update. I want to take a few moments to talk to you. This is Ambrosia. This song has special meaning in this season. Ambrosia. I wanted to open up with that. That's kind of the season we're in. We keep on holding on. This song is about grief and loss. And we are in a season of grief and loss. And there's no denying that. Before Christmas, John Mathis, my dad, graduated to be with Jesus. And then suddenly we're walking into a season of grief and loss as we are losing our dear brother, elder friend, Jerry Anderson. It really struck me this last Sunday as I was getting ready to go up to the Lord's table. And every Sunday I'd walk down the center aisle and Jerry's there on the edge and he'd grab my arm and he'd say, "Hey, Chief, you got this and I got your back." And wow. I just kind of lost it. Grief and loss is part of the human condition. It's part of who we are. We're created. To the degree that we grieve is to the degree that we love. And so just this last week, I want you to know as your pastor, I'm being open and vulnerable. I have a cumulative grief. There's just been an accumulation of grief. So I've reached out to Robbie Booth, and I'm going to be getting some counseling from Robbie. And Robbie, you know how Robbie is. He very intuitive. He goes, "Hey Al, why don't you tell me how your grief is manifesting?" And there are three ways that my grief I know is manifesting right now. First, I find myself having a lack of patience with some things. I just go, I don't know why I'm so agitated, and I just lack patience. My mind is a little bit clouded. It's been this way since my dad died, where you're just like in a fog. And then the third thing that I find myself is I just don't, it's kind of like you just want to be by yourself sometimes. Just leave me alone. And that's not always healthy, but it's kind of this weird, you kind of detach a little bit with things. And I'm not going to do that, and I'm not going to deny, and we can't, as a community and as a church, deny grief and loss. Matter of fact, one of the things that Pete Scazzaro in Emotionally Healthy Spirituality writes is that we have to embrace grief and loss, and we have to navigate through it. Years ago, going through my graduate program, my professor said this: the best support for grief is to have someone with you to move into the chaos without trying to change it. He said that grief are seasons of growth, and that as we navigate through grief and we take on what that loss is and how it's manifesting, not alone but with others. He called it the autumn season or the fall season. He said life has seasons to it, and in that grief we need to embrace and navigate the fact that we're facing it. And I think as a church we have to. And I'm not sending this to everybody. I'm saying this to those who serve, who have kids and everything, because the grief is real and we're all walking it out. And I'm thinking, all of us have stories and connection points that were significant with our brother Jerry, for instance, my dad, John. And we need to share those, and we need to process those and understand that we're not alone in this, but as a community that we're going to do a good job. That's the reason why with Seek Week next week, Dr. Charlie Self coming. I have him on Tuesday night at 6:30 p.m. Come to the church. We are going to have him address how we as a community can navigate through grief and loss. And he's just gone through a season of grief and loss. If I could just take a few moments, I'd like to, I've done some research and just some thinking on this. Nothing really deep or heavy. I'm not an expert by any sense of the words with any of this, but what are the physical symptoms of grief? You get a hollow feeling in your stomach, tightness or heaviness in your chest or throat, oversensitivity to nose, difficulty breathing, feeling tired, fatigue. Man, I got lots of fatigue going on right now. Lack of energy, dry mouth, anxiety. People can feel anxious or worried after the loss or of somebody. There's emotional symptoms, and I identify with some of these. Uh, Intense sorrow or pain, numbness, detachment, bitterness, lack of trust in others, an inability to enjoy life, intense loneliness. Matter of fact, some of it is even boomeranging. We get angry with people. We have expectations that don't get met, and then we got to place our anger. And this is one of the reasons why with grief and loss, and I know this to be true, trust me, is when a person has grief and loss, the very first person they'll attack is the most prominent authority figure in their life. This is the reason why when law enforcement people have people on their teams that experience grief or loss, they'll the captain, the commander, the team lead, they'll say, "Hey, wait a second. We need to kind of create some distance because people will boomerang with their anger." There's behavioral symptoms that continue with that, in which people will have an excessive avoidance of relationships or anything that reminds them of a person. They want to somehow avoid different scenarios and situations. Now, I did some thinking, and you can ask yourself where you at on your continuum. There are people that have different types of grief. Like I said, I have real accumulative grief over some traumatic things, and I know that. Loss here recently, so I'm working with that. There's collective grief. There's prolonged grief disorder, where people have had grief for a long, long time. There is loss. I mean, there are people who have had continuous grief and loss as a result of crisis in their lives, and the accumulation of that has been. I can remember a family. Let me give you an example of this. I remember a family that we had in our church in San Jose. Check this out. This family was in a rental. The rental had a major flood in the house, destroyed all their property. They had to get out, deal with insurance thing and with the owner. Bought a house. I think it was, I want to say 9 months later, their house burned down. Then they went from that and ran into some other situations, and it was a real sad situation. They got through it, and today that family is doing much, much better, and God is, but I got to tell you, we don't want to feel disconnected from God. We don't want to feel disconnected with one another. And when I say feel, I can't control a person's feelings. We just want to make sure that we don't isolate ourselves in an unhealthy way, and we don't try to fix one another. Because with grief and loss, I can't fix your grief and loss. You can't fix mine, but we got to go to Jesus. And we certainly know, blessed are those who mourn, for they shall be comforted. And that's not an instantaneous thing. It's a journey. Grief and loss is a journey. And I just want to share that with you. And I love each and every one of you. And I want to be honest with you that I am experiencing grief and loss. And I know, Catherine, you might be watching this video, and our hearts are with you, and we love you. We're getting ready. February 15th is going to be the celebration for our brother Jerry Anderson. We're going to celebrate his life here at the church at 11 o'clock a.m. We've asked for registrations for people because I think it's going to be a very, very well-attended ceremony, and so we need to know how to prepare for it, and parking, all the things that are just very practical for that day. So I just wanted to share my heart with you that I love you, and we want to acknowledge the season we're in. God's doing so many good things in many ways, but in the midst of it, we have this grief and loss, and at times there almost seems to be a disconnect between the two realities. God, you're doing this stuff. In the same token, boy, I feel sometimes like, man, God, where am I in this process? Because at times it's almost surreal. but we're going to get through this with the help of God and each other. So Dr. Charlie Self is going to be here. We're asking you to fast, pray. Let's come together. Sunday, he'll be with us in the morning. Sunday night, we're going to be doing an assessment. This is really important. If you can do this, you can bring your computer or you can answer the questions. It could be anybody and everybody. We're inviting you to come. We're collecting some information that Dr. Self is going to put together so that we can create a dashboard that helps us see what our missional outcomes with discipleship. It's going to help you know where you need to grow in your discipleship journey, and it's going to help the church know how we can discover the outcomes and where we're headed as a church. So I wanted to let you know that we're headed that direction. And then Monday night, he'll be meeting with the church council. We'll be having a council meeting with Dr. Charlie. Then Tuesday night, he will be, or Tuesday morning, he'll be with the ministry staff team. All those who are key leaders who serve in different areas, it doesn't matter. You are welcome to come. We'll be in the office. He's going to talk to us that morning. And then Tuesday night, obviously, we're going to be doing the grief and loss. And then he's going to be doing some one-on-ones. He coaches me, and I'm really excited about this. I also want to give a shout out. You might not know this, but we have two people, Brooke Laurie and Michelle Good, are going back into a graduate program at Life Pacific College or Life Pacific University, my alma mater, and they're going to be doing counseling. And so they start their intensive this week. So keep those two ladies in prayer as they're pursuing an education with counseling. Two brilliant ladies, I might add, and really excited about that. The room for Connection Ministry is getting established. Reed and his team will be painting, doing some work in there. It's going to be really cool. So they're starting. They've already started on that. Valerie has got it cleared and everything. And I am talking to Pastor Robbie about possibly trying to get him as a follow-on so that we can do a check-in as a team and as a community of people with our own grief and loss. So those are the things I wanted to share with you on my heart. I love each and every one of you very, very much. Boy, this is a tough season. It's just a tough season. I can't put it into words. I had someone come into my office today that was weeping because it hit them. We're all kind of in different seasons, but we're here leaning into Jesus. And Jesus, give us the strength that we need as a community to lean into one another and trust and believe in you in the midst of all of this. And I want to be honest with you because I'm a type A person. I get it, and I could just burn through, but I'm not going to burn through. I'm going to stop, pause, and get some help that I need to make sure that I'm not just going to be an emotional roller coaster, but that I'm able to pursue what I need to pursue for me, and that we could be there for each other. So how can we do that? What's the practical way? Let's not avoid it. Let's share our stories with one another. Let's be an encouragement. Let's listen. Let's attempt not try to fix people. That's not our goal. If someone is sharing something, listen. We're not here to fix people. Everyone has grief and loss, and it's okay, for us to sit there and to be present and to be fully present with them is the greatest gift that we can give someone else. Let's be present in the moment. I don't have any way that I can fix everybody's stuff, but man, me being present is a gift to you, just as your presence is a gift to me, just as the presence of Christ is a gift to each and every one of us. That's amazing to me. That's amazing that Jesus, in the midst of our pain and the midst of our hurt, you come in and you love us so much. So that's my update. A little longer than normal. I don't want to hold on to yesterday, but I got to live today, and you got to live today, and we need to do this together. And I pray that the grace of God on each and every one of us, His peace, His comfort, His strength in the midst of all of this be given to us. And you know what? For all the losses and grief that every individual who listens to this video experiences and have, I pray, God, that you just strengthen us and give us the hope that we need, but the strength that we need to navigate this. I pray this in your name, in Jesus' name. Once again, I love you. I love you. God bless you. And give me feedback to what you think. If you have any thoughts, I'm doing the best I can, but I wanted to say this to you and I wanted to give you an update. Love you, team.